Look at this mess. Hello, knife enthusiasts, knife lovers, knife obsessed people, interested viewers folder here. I wanted to do a video on small knives. Well, specifically on this knife here. There was a quick review on this knife, but then talking about small knives in general, neck knives, and what they're for, what they're advertised for, you know, and you know, just the 411 on them, you know, on tiny knives in general. Let's get this mess out of the way first. All right, you get out of here. 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 Okay. So let's start off with this knife. This is the ARK, the Spyderco ARK neck knife. ARK, always ready knife. That's what it's called. So it's touted as something for self-defense. If you've watched my channel, I'm not a big fan of knives for self-defense. A knife is a tool used for cutting tasks. Sometimes people use them for self-defense. Sometimes people use them to do harm to people, but they're a tool. Now, there are certain knives that are actually designed for self-defense, but, you know, most knives, you know, are just cutting tools. That's what they are. And this one is no different, even though I'm going to tout my reasons as to why I'm not a big fan of self-defense with knives and that whole industry. But I know it's marketing. I understand that. You know, I get it. So let's start off with this knife. Let's start off with the specs. This is the, like I said, the Spyderco ARK, always ready neck knife. How much does this little thing weigh? I'm going to actually weigh it with and without the sheath. Without the sheath, it comes in at, whoa, 0.8 ounces, 0.9 ounces. Not even an ounce, under an ounce. Yeah, that's small. Under an ounce. And with the sheath and chain, that would go around your neck, of course. How much weight would be hanging off your neck carrying this thing? 2 ounces. So yeah, it's light. And a neck knife should be light because it's around your neck. And I personally do not wear neck knives. I've never worn a neck knife. These are also small enough to put in your pocket if you wanted to. You know, but I'm not knocking people that do. Definitely not. You know, that's not my style. The whole entire thing, including sheath, is 5 3/4 inches. Minus the sheath, the knife from end to end is 5 inches. Blade cutting surface is about just under 2.5 inches cutting surface. Tiny. Legal probably everywhere. Right? And let's just talk about it really quick. The steel is H1. If you don't know about H1 steel, it is a highly corrosive, highly non-corrosive steel. It is amongst a few steels out there that might be corrosion corrosion proof. There are any stainless steel is corrosion resistant, but these are at this and LC200N are at a higher level. That's its strength, and I think it ends there, because I'm not a huge fan of H1 when it comes to edge retention or toughness. So the 3 categories by which we mostly judge knife and tool steels: edge retention, how well it holds its edge when you're using it; toughness, how tough the steel is if you're using it for certain tasks that the steel could break; and corrosion resistance. So out of the 3, this has excellent corrosion resistance. There are some people that say that H1 is not bad when it comes to toughness and the fact that it can be sharpened easy. They don't mind the lack of edge retention. You know, there's a reason why Spyderco went from H1, even though I think they still use H1 today, but their main corrosion resistant or proof steel is LC200N, which is much better edge retention and much better toughness than this. LC200N actually is an excellent steel. I really like that steel. But that's the reason why. So it's got H1 steel. It's got the FRN handle, and it's a full tang H1 steel that goes all the way through. It's got the FRN handle with the Spyderco proprietary directional patterns that create incredible amount of grip. It's got a front finger choil that's absolutely enormous. I can get the front finger, my middle finger, and 3/4 of my third finger on here. So these paws are not getting on this thing too well. Or maybe not even through, maybe half. So, but the front finger choil is huge. And it actually has the spider hole with an up ramp very similar to the PM2, which we all know the PM2 is an amazing knife for locking you in, right? The front downturn on the handle and the jimping on the back of the PM2, along with the upswept spine of the blade, is one of the best handled knives ever made. Honestly, the PM2. And the PM2 is a tactical knife, and it's a tactical knife because of the ergos, to be honest with you. But anyway, so it's got an upswept, severely upswept clip point, I guess, and it's a high hollow grind, which creates an extremely thin edge. And I tell you, this knife is very sharp. This is one of the sharpest knives I've ever felt out of the factory. It's really sharp, razor sharp. But like I said, H1, it probably won't hold that edge too well. The proprietary sheath that they have is, I don't know, Kydex, Bolteron, maybe. I'm not exactly sure, but it's actually irrelevant. It does have a quite a few contact holes. I mean, yeah, contact holes here where you can use this thing. You can use them to attach this in many ways. It comes with this chain that goes around your neck, and what's really interesting is, turn the heat down a little bit in here, it's warm. What's really interesting is this release for the sheath. I don't think I've ever seen it before, but I've actually never had a problem with any of my knives falling out of the sheaths. Anyway, not that like I said, I don't wear neck knives, but even just shaking them, I never had any problem with them coming out. This is an interesting sheath because it locks the knife in. You can see the pattern is the shape of the knife. It's got a hole here for release purposes, and the way it works is you push down on this locking lever, or unlocking lever in this case, and what that does is allow the tang to be released, and then you can pull the knife out. It's actually very ingenious. It's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice. That's a really good attribute about it. So yeah, so I'm not an expert, obviously, in knives and knife fighting. Definitely not. And I don't want to divulge as to what I do for a living, but I would definitely have to say that I do have enough experience in what I do to talk about this as a self-defense tool. I would never use this as a self-defense tool. No. I'm not that big of a fan with knives as self-defense tools anyway. But, you know, just like any object that you have, if someone's attacking you, after you've tried to retreat, after you've tried every instance to get away, to have a no conflict at all, if you had to defend yourself, you could use any tool you have, anything, you know, and only within reason to defend yourself. not above and beyond reason. You can't cut somebody's head off if you've defended yourself already. You have to stop. So, you know, but something like this, you'd have to be, and I'm not saying this couldn't be used for that, but you'd have to be like a serious expert with this, because this will get you killed. This is, you know, this is definitely something that's, you know, but like I said, I understand the marketing behind these knives. I'm a bigger fan of using them in a different way. I would take this fishing with me, 100%, and I'd have it around my neck, and you're on a boat and you're catching fish and you're doing this and you're having a great day fishing, and you the last time you used your regular knife, you put it down someplace and you don't realize where you, oh crap, and I got this big fish on the line, and oh, I got this around my neck. You pull it out, and just, if you had to do a simple cut for something, perfect. That's what this is for. This is for, I mean, because of the H1 and its incredible corrosion resistance, rather than a regular EDC knife to do things like really light tasks for everyday carry, I would say, yeah, I would take this on a fishing trip. That's what I would use this for. You know, if you have to cut a line, if you have to, you know, there's a section on the fish's mouth where you already put your knife in there and you're trying to cut the hook out, or you tried to plier it out and couldn't, and it's just something else you could grab. It's less than 2 ounces in weight, so it's not going to be a problem. You'll forget it's there until you need it. Perfect. And that's really how I would advertise any of these knives. I also did a review some time back on the Subway buoy, which is the Fred Perrin design. And this is also a small neck knife by Spyderco. And this uses Bolderon instead of Kydex. I know for a fact this is definitely Bolderon. And this sheath is excellent. And it doesn't have a locking mechanism. Well, it doesn't have a finger locking mechanism like that, but it will not come out. I've shook this thing extremely hard. It doesn't come out until you really pull it in to take it out. So the sheath is excellent. And this knife is much better than this knife. I'm talking about materials. I mean, they both have FRN. This doesn't have the proprietary traction that this one has in the FRN, but this is LC200N. So this steel is much better. You can see the blade stock is much thicker, even though you want, you know, slicing for what this is for. This is hollow grind also, so this is going to be a sharper slicer, but you're going to be sharpening this thing left and right. Whereas, you know, the Subway buoy, I think, is just a better tool. But the same. I think these are touted as sort of like self-defense. And like I said, you know, I get it, but I would argue these are excellent for when you're in the field. If you're fishing, if you're hunting, if you're doing something where you're already carrying a main knife and maybe even a secondary knife, sometimes things happen, right? That's why you go out and you're in the wilderness, you're prepared, because things happen that you can't quantify, okay? Better to have a knife, better to have an extra knife and not need it, than to need an extra knife and not have it. And not for self-defense, for anything that you're doing out there that requires a cutting task. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thanks.